Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we are live. Welcome back to the show. It is a lovely Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, really. It is July 26th. And folks, we have some bombshell breaking news today. There is an entire narrative unfolding right now that I think nobody is really picking up on. I haven't seen anybody talking about it, at least. So I think you guys are really going to enjoy today's show. Today's show is really focusing first and foremost on the ongoing Obama-gate scandal, during which back in 2016, Barack Obama, who was president at the time, directed senior members of his intelligence community to fabricate a Russia collusion narrative, a hoax, if you will, in order to, effectively try to subvert the democratic will of the American people and engage in a coup of sorts against President Trump earlier on in his administration in 2017. Now, so folks, today, we hear directly from FBI Director Dan Bongino, who just earlier today, a couple hours ago, went absolutely scorched earth and dropped some pretty big hints as to what is currently going on behind the scenes. We are going to dissect this entire situation and pick it apart piece by piece. I think you guys are going to like today's episode. We also have some big updates from our Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. We're going to take a look at that. And after we go through what Dan Bongino had to say and the breaking news updates from Tulsi Gabbard, because she's been talking all day as well today about this situation, after we go through all of that, we're going to go piece by piece. We're going to piece everything together, and I'll tell you what I really think is going on here, because there's some big stuff, and you kind of have to sift through it and parse it out and put it together. But between you and me, as a little bit of a spoiler, we're going to break this down closer to the end of today's broadcast. I think that Barack Obama, yes, Barack Obama, not all of his associates, well, yes, his associates, but Barack Obama as well as an individual, I think he is screwed. Now, and by screwed, I mean treason. I mean traitor. Now, we're going to get into this. This clip is from yesterday morning. It was going viral, and people saw this. This is President Trump, and they said, dude, Barack Obama, he's never going to be held accountable. Play the clip, and we're going to talk about this. Hold your horses. Listen to this from yesterday.
Thank you, Mr. President. How do you think that the Supreme Court's ruling that benefited you on presidential immunity would apply to former President Barack Obama and what you're accusing him of doing?
It probably helps him a lot. Probably helps him a lot, the immunity ruling. But it doesn't help the people around him at all. But it probably helps him a lot. He's done criminal acts, there's no question about it. But he has immunity, and it probably helps him a lot.
A trade agreement you're looking to sign too.
He owes me big. Obama owes me big.
What are the details in the UK trade agreement?
Okay, so he says, in accordance with this Supreme Court ruling from about a half a year ago, or maybe a little bit longer ago than that, the Supreme Court said that any president who is engaging in presidential activity that is in accordance with the job of being the president, they can't be held criminally accountable for that. They have immunity insofar as that goes. Now, so Trump says, yeah, that probably helps him. And so a lot of people saw this. They said, man, we're never going to get Barack Obama. Yes, Barack Obama orchestrated this entire plan, but nothing's going to happen. We're never going to get him. Well, this is something that we're going to break down in extreme detail in probably about a half hour, because we have some other stuff to work through, some requisite information to unpackage before we get to that. But just to let this sit in the back of your head for the next half hour, does treason fall under that immunity, that purview of that immunity? Does treason count? Can you still be held accountable for treason? How does treason, what does the Constitution say about treason? How does treason really work? Where does it fall in line with this Supreme Court interpretation of presidential immunity? And so this entire question, this entire thought process, we are going to break down big time a little bit later on in today's show. And like I said, I think you guys are going to like what we have to say today. First off, this morning, though, we need to go through all this information. First off, Tulsi Gabbard was on Fox and Friends this morning. Take a look at what she had to say.
Former President Obama's office responded to the documents that you've released, calling them bizarre allegations or ridiculous and a weak attempt at distraction. What is your response to the former president?
They're doing the exact same thing that people like Senator Warner are doing. He was the head of the Intelligence Committee at the time. They would have to admit and actually address the details of their complicity in this or their absolute failure in conducting the most basic responsibilities of, again, asking, where is this intelligence coming from? What are the sources? What proof do you have of these of this high confidence assessment? Remember, John Brennan and James Clapper at the time assessed, and James Comey, with high confidence that Russia aspired to help Donald Trump win the election in 2016 when there was no credible intelligence that actually reported that.
And that's a big deal. In fact, and we're going to talk about this here pretty soon, the intelligence that they had, the intelligence that Obama and his intelligence community had, was that, in fact, not only did Russia not have the capacity to interfere or the desire with the 2016 election, but in fact, they were actually planning for a Hillary Clinton win. They not only were planning for Hillary to win, but they wanted Hillary Clinton to win. And Russia, this is also, we know now, Russia had information, negative information on Hillary that they chose not to release. Why did they choose not to release the dirt they had on Hillary? For instance, she was on horse tranquilizers or something. She was out of her mind. She had all these different issues. She was on a bunch of psychotic medication, etc. Why did Russia choose not to release that information? Because Russia wanted President Clinton. It was the exact opposite of what the Obama administration was saying. Russia actually wanted Clinton, and they were preparing for that. So keep that in mind, because that really plays into this entire narrative here. We're going to break that down here pretty soon.
So President Obama's very carefully worded response that came from his office, again, deflects away from addressing any of the truth that was revealed. Right. Senator Warner refuses to speak the truth about how one of our whistleblowers came forward and approached his office numerous times about what had actually occurred, how he wouldn't go along with this fake intelligence manufactured report, was sidelined because of it. And guess what? Senator Warner's office wouldn't even give the whistleblower an email address to send his evidence of this, the treasonous conspiracy that we have now released to the American people. So the complicity, the deflection, and the silence of politicians, of the mainstream media, and of those directly implicated into this speaks volumes.
Okay, who are the big names that are directly implicated in this entire situation? Of course, we've already mentioned today Barack Hussein Obama, but we also have former FBI Director James Comey, former CIA Director John Brennan, and former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper. Those are probably, the top four big names. Now, of course, we all know that to some degree, Barack Obama has this concept of presidential immunity. But these other three individuals, and maybe there are some lower level individuals as well that were complicit in this agenda, in this coup, in this act of treason or sedition or insurrection or whatever you want to call it. By the way, you'll notice really the proper word is treason. The Trump administration, time and time again over the last week and a half, they are using the word treason, treason, treason. It's the T word. That is the word. And there's a reason why. There's a reason why we are all using the T word, treason. It's because this is a real constitutional term that carries constitutional penalties. This is what Donald Trump wants. The Trump administration, they want treason charges, and that is what they are angling for. And they have very clearly, we're going to break this down here in today's show, they have an entire sort of rhetorical agenda. They have a plan to bring that to fruition. They are building a case for treason. That is what's going on here. Now, like we've said, Dan Bongino, who is the deputy director of the FBI right now, serving under Kash Patel, appointed by Trump, released a bombshell. It's a big, long post. Well, a couple paragraphs here on Twitter, on X. And I want to read through this with you guys. I think some people misinterpreted this post. We're going to break it down today. He said, this is just like 2 or 3 hours ago. He said, during my tenure here as the deputy director of the FBI, he's been there about 6 months now, I have repeatedly relayed to you that things are happening that might not be immediately visible, but they are happening. The director and I, that's Kash Patel, are committed to stamping out public corruption and political weaponization of both law enforcement and intelligence operations. What did Obama do, according to this information Tulsi Gabbard has brought to the American people? Could you say that Barack Obama in 2016 and his intelligence community weaponized law enforcement and intelligence operations? Absolutely, yes. Of course, that's exactly what they did. It is a priority for us, Dan Bongino goes on to say. But what I have learned in the course of our properly predicated and necessary investigations into these aforementioned matters has shocked me down to my core. We cannot run a republic like this. You hear that? What he has discovered in the last couple months has shocked him down to his core. He says we cannot operate a republic like this. I'll never be the same after learning what I have learned. We are going to conduct these righteous and proper investigations by the book and in accordance with the law. We are going to get the answers we all deserve. In all caps, we all deserve answers. It almost seems like he is including himself in that. We. As with any investigation, I cannot predict where it will land, but I can promise you an honest and dignified effort at truth. Not my truth or your truth, but the truth. God bless America and all of those who defend her. Respectfully, Dan Bongino. Now, this tweet came out a couple hours ago, earlier this morning, and immediately everybody was assuming that this was relating to the Epstein scandal. Of course, we had a big show yesterday talking about Epstein. Today is a little bit less about Epstein. Today we're talking about Obamagate. But everybody saw this post from Bongino here today, and they assumed, oh my gosh, he's talking about Epstein. What does he know? Something is going on with Epstein. Well, Bongino actually, a couple hours after this post, he followed up with another post. It was like 5 hours later. He followed up with another post. He saw that everybody was interpreting through this first post kind of through the Epstein lens, Epstein. Bongino clarified. He said, listen, in essence, he said, listen, I'm actually not talking about Epstein. This is something else. Because what he did is he retweeted this. That's what this is. So he retweeted it with a link, and the link here redirects to this news page from justthenews.com, and it's talking about the 2016 Intel report. It's talking about Obamagate. Okay, so Bongino, 5 hours later, he wanted to clarify, guys, listen, guys, this post is not about Epstein. This post, I was really primarily talking about Obamagate, the 2016 Russia collusion hoax. And so he kind of clarified that by retweeting this. So right now, all eyes today. That's why today's entire discussion here on this live broadcast is talking about Obamagate, because we really do have some big updates that I want to share with you guys. But first, we have some super chats. Evil never sleeps. Thank you, Steve Bolin. He says, evil never sleeps, but the truth always brings the light. And that's what they're afraid of. Thank you very much. Thank you. And A. Barnes, thank you. I appreciate that, guys. And once again, hey, if you guys are new to the show, please make sure to subscribe and also like the video today. I really should say that first and foremost. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. It helps a lot. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to move on, but this is all going to make sense once we piece it together. But right now, I need to give you guys all of the kind of foundational information before we can put it all together. So I'm sorry if it seems like I'm just throwing a bunch of stuff at you guys, but it's going to make sense once we get it all out there and we piece it together, okay? So another thing that happened over the last couple days is Roger Stone attended the White House. Roger Stone was summoned by Trump to the White House. I guess Trump gave him some medal or trophy, some award. I don't know. Hey, good job, Roger Stone. And so they took this photo a couple days ago. Roger Stone is a political commentator, political advisor, political theorist for decades, like 50 years. So, and he's friends with Donald Trump. Okay, so Roger Stone, after meeting with Trump at the White House a couple days ago, Roger Stone went on the air and he gave some extra information about this ongoing Obamagate situation. Take a listen to what he had to say.
I couldn't be prouder of Tulsi Gabbard. As you know, she was a four-term Democrat congresswoman from Hawaii. She valiantly exposed Kamala Harris as a fraud, pointing out that Kamala Harris, as a prosecutor, put tens of thousands of African Americans and other minorities and poor people in jail under the 1994 crime bill that was written by Joe Biden and signed by Bill Clinton into law that criminalized with harsh mandatory penalties the possession of small amounts of drugs for personal use, weaponizing that law against millions of poor people. She slaughtered her in a debate, and her reward was to be put on a secret TSA watch list. So they were spying on Tulsi Gabbard as well.
And you remember, listen, Tulsi Gabbard, she has not just a patriotic vested interest in getting all this information out there. She's a patriotic American. She's a veteran, etc. She was in Congress for a while, but also Tulsi Gabbard, she was pursued in the same way that Trump was for a long time, not to the same degree, but you remember for a long time, Hillary Clinton, the DNC, they were calling Tulsi Gabbard a Russian shill, a Russian spy, a Russian informant, etc. Russia, Russia, Russia. Okay, and why? It's because Tulsi Gabbard had the audacity to threaten Hillary Clinton. And when I say threaten Hillary Clinton, what I mean is Tulsi Gabbard campaigned against Hillary Clinton. Tulsi Gabbard in 2016 tried to run a campaign against Hillary Clinton. That really pissed off Hillary Clinton. Hey, how dare you try to campaign against me in a Democratic primary? How dare you do that? And so then Hillary Clinton made it her life's purpose to defame and libel and slander, really ruin Tulsi Gabbard by calling her a Russian shill, a Russian informant or whatever. And so Tulsi Gabbard, she has gone through kind of the same Russian rigmarole, if you will, that Donald Trump has gone through. So it's like, for her, you can tell it's kind of personal too. She wants all of this out in the open.
But the president is, and I don't discuss my private conversations with the president, you know that, but I can tell you, however, having met with him, that he is very, very pleased with her performance. He's very proud of her. This is a courageous moment. These are not allegations. She has now produced the receipts. Absolute stone cold proof that Barack Obama was the main orchestrator of a conspiracy that is the greatest single dirty trick in American political history.
And now, by the way, listen, guys, this is beyond reasonable doubt. We have the paperwork, we have the logs, we have the documentation. We know Barack Obama and senior ranking members of his intelligence community, they did this. We know that they did this. This is not up for debate. This is a fact of the matter. Now the question is anybody going to get held accountable? And we are getting to that portion of today's broadcast here very soon. We're going to talk about the accountability aspect of this. I think you're going to like that. But now that's where the conversation is. Is anybody? We've caught them. Their hand was in the cookie jar, so to speak. We caught them. Ha! Get your hand out of the cookie jar. You're trying to, subvert the democratic will of the American people. Busted. Now, is anybody going to be held accountable?
It is nothing less than an abuse of power in which the full authority of the United States government and the incredible capabilities of our intelligence agencies were utilized using two completely fake pieces of evidence, the so-called Steele dossier, paid for and contrived by Hillary Clinton and her campaign, and the false claim that the Democrat National Committee had been the target of an online hack by Russian intelligence.
And they were
for
not.
Which there is still not an iota of proof.
Not one iota of proof. You know what did happen? Hillary Clinton was hosting classified information on a private... Do you guys remember Hillary Clinton's private email server hosted in her basement, which was susceptible to hackers? Do you guys remember Podesta, her campaign lead, who was sharing classified information on his Gmail account which got hacked, all the Podesta emails classified on a Gmail account. Hillary Clinton tried to, she used BleachBit to bleach her, to try to delete all of her. Okay. This is how their information got leaked. It wasn't a Russian hack. There's zero proof of that. Now, by the way, real quick, we have a massive super chat here from my friend from Denmark. Hello, thank you very much, Mr. Hansen. That's a very Danish name. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Good to see you. We got this one. Oh, from one Matt to another, America First. Nice name, Matt. And thank you. I appreciate that a lot. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much for the super chats. Now, Tulsi Gabbard, this is yesterday evening. She really went kind of scorched earth here. She was talking to Matt Gaetz about all of this. Okay. And Matt Gaetz, I want to play this with you guys because Matt Gaetz asked some very legitimate, very pertinent questions, and she gave some great answers here about everything that's going on. We're going to play this here too.
I've always wondered this, Director Gabbard, who was the highest ranking person in the U.S. government who knew that there were Russian subsources in the dossier when it was used in the intelligence community assessment?
By the way, real quick, for maybe people that are missing some background information, the dossier, we're talking about the Steele dossier. We know for a fact Hillary Clinton, the Clinton campaign in 2016, in addition with the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, it was a joint effort. They paid this guy named Steele $13 million to manufacture a fake a dossier containing fake information alleging that Donald Trump was working with the Russians. So this is what what's the dossier? That's what the dossier is, the Steele dossier. And as we now know, courtesy of Tulsi Gabbard's information that she has now released about a week ago or a week and a half ago, this fake dossier, this discredited propaganda dossier, was one of the primary sources that Obama and Comey and various other senior ranking members and Clapper and Brennan used to push this Russia collusion narrative. That's okay. So for anybody that doesn't know what the dossier is, that's the dossier.
Well, what the documents show that we've released, and again, this is not my view or my opinion, but the evidence is there for those who choose to actually read what we released, which is that these senior CIA officials specifically pointed out to CIA Director John Brennan that the sources that he wanted to use to support this manufactured intelligence assessment that President Obama ordered be created were basically so trash. They didn't meet traditional intelligence community tradecraft standards, which is why they were never used before. And in these four main pieces of evidence that were used, in every example, John Brennan basically overruled their objections and said, nope, you've got to use them anyway. I think the other important point here is that
I just want to clarify what she said to make sure everybody understands this. CIA Director John Brennan, that's him up there on the screen. He had his own advisors within the CIA saying, listen, dude, this information you have here from the dossier, this is bunk. This stuff is bogus. And he said, I don't care. We're going to use it anyway.
One of those key pieces of so-called sources that Brennan used for this fake assessment was the Steele dossier. They knew it was discredited. These senior CIA officials wouldn't even think of using it because they knew that it was not a piece of credible intelligence, nor was it a credible source. John Brennan told them to use it anyway, tried to hide it by highly compartmentalizing and classifying this document, and then went and lied to the American people and lied directly to Congress when he was asked very specifically, did you use the Steele dossier in the creation of this intelligence assessment that was published in January of 2017? And in both cases, both to Congress and the American people in an interview, he said no. Emphatically, he said no. It was not used in any way to create this intelligence assessment that President Obama ordered. It was used.
I was that congressman he lied to. I was the one who deposed him in 2023, and his willingness to disclaim any involvement in that was striking even at the time.
So I got to say, Tulsi Gabbard really is, she's doing a good job. Tulsi Gabbard is really growing on me. Does anybody else agree? Give me a yes or a no in the chat. Tulsi Gabbard really is doing a good job. This is an absolute home run. The proof, the evidence, the documentation that she has brought, the case she has built here is steel, is bulletproof. It's made out of steel. Ironically, it's as thick as steel, her case that she has presented here. Now, let's get to the accountability component of this. This really is the segment of today's broadcast that I think everybody's waiting for, that I've been alluding to. You know, we kicked the show off today by showing this clip from Donald Trump where he says, yeah, listen, Barack Obama probably has some type of presidential immunity in accordance with this Supreme Court case, but we see the entire Trump administration pushing the narrative, treason, 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 treason. It's the T word, treason. In the same way, there's an agenda behind this treason. Why are we pushing specifically that word? Remember, for years, the Democrats, they pushed the I word. What's the I word? Insurrection, insurrection, insurrection. Donald Trump insurrection, January 6th insurrection. And it's like, why did they push that narrative so hard? The reason why the Democrats pushed that specific word so hard is because it's a word in the Constitution. It's constitutionally laid out. And they knew that in accordance with the Constitution, if they could convince the American people or also push this in the legal system that Donald Trump was an insurrectionist, then they could remove his name from the ballots during the Republican primary. Okay? That's why for 3 years, for 4 years, they pushed that specific word, insurrection, because they knew if they could get that narrative to latch on, they could rip his name off of the Republican primary ballots and they could stop him forevermore from running for president. And we know that that was their objective with that word, insurrection, because we saw this in Colorado State. They're in the Republican primary, and Maine tried to do the same thing. Now, the Supreme Court shut that down and said, hey, no, you can't do that, Colorado and Maine. We're not going to let that fly. Keep in mind, Donald Trump was never found guilty of insurrection ever. And so the Supreme Court said no. What happened immediately after the Supreme Court shut down this insurrection objective to rip him off of the state ballots? The Democrats never talked about insurrection ever again. They completely shut up about it. It's because that was the goal. The goal was to try to run this narrative for 3.5 years, rip him off the ballots. The goal failed, and you never heard about it ever again. Okay? That makes a little bit more sense now when you think about it like that, right? So you're seeing a similar thing now, okay? The Trump administration is pushing the T word. Treason, treason, treason. And they are pushing that word, treason, specifically that word, because once again, this is a word that's found in the Constitution. It's rigorously laid out. We know what constitutes treason. We're going to talk about this. That is the objective of the Trump administration right now, is to get Barack Obama and maybe numerous of his several of his co-conspirators tried and found guilty of treason as well. So I want to kick things off, by the way. I'm going to have this up on the screen here. Actually, no, this is not relevant quite yet. I'll let you guys look at me right now while I kind of break this down. Folks, let's talk about what is the narrative right now coming from the Trump administration. What is the Trump administration saying? 3 big things over the last week and a half. One, the Obama administration viewed Russia in 2016 as an enemy of the United States of America, and they said that Russia, because they were an enemy of the United States of America, Russia was attempting to influence the outcome of the 2016 presidential election. As we now know, that was a lie. That's all of this information regarding this Obamagate stuff. We know that that was a lie. We know Russia was not doing that, but that is the narrative that the Obama administration was pushing. They knew it was false, but that's the narrative that they were pushing. Okay, second thing the Trump administration is saying right now. What they're saying is that Russia actually, and this is what we now know in accordance with the information that Tulsi Gabbard has released, Russia actually expected Hillary Clinton to win the 2016 election, and they actually wanted Hillary Clinton to win the 2016 election. And we know that Russia wanted Hillary Clinton to win the election because, once again, in accordance with this Tulsi Gabbard information that's come out in the last couple of days, Russia actually had dirt. They had negative, damaging information relating to Hillary Clinton that they decided to not release. Why did Russia decide to not release the damaging information, the dirt they had on Hillary? Because they wanted her to win. Russia viewed a Clinton administration as being more favorable for Russian interests than a Trump administration. So Russia expected her to win, and they wanted her to win. They were withholding information that would have kneecapped or sabotaged her 2016 campaign because they wanted her to win. We know that to be the case now also. And now the third big thing that the Trump administration is saying right now is that what this means is that, in essence, in a very strange turn of events, when Obama manufactured this fake Russian collusion narrative to bring down Trump, Obama was actually effectively helping the Russians. Does this make sense? He was helping the Russians get what they wanted because the Russians wanted Hillary Clinton to win. So whether or not Obama knew this, whether or not he knew or didn't know, when Obama and his senior-ranking intelligence community members manufactured this fake Russian collusion narrative, they were trying to damage Trump. They were actually, in essence, helping Russia get what they wanted because Russia didn't want Trump to win. Russia wanted Hillary to win. Okay? Think about this. And so this is the image. This is the narrative that the Trump administration is trying to push. And also, it's entirely true. This is the groundwork, the foundation, the argumentation, the rhetoric that that the Trump administration is trying to push. Now, why does all of this matter? Well, it seems to me that the Trump administration is trying to achieve a very specific goal. And what is the goal? The goal is Barack Obama committed treason. That is the goal. Now, let's keep working through this. Now, this is where I'm going to pull this up. Treason as defined by the U.S. Constitution in Article 3, Section 3, Clause 1 of the U.S. Constitution. Treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against the United States, or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. Adhering to the enemies. There's another part here. No person shall be convicted of treason unless the testimony of two witnesses to the same overt act or on confession in open court. So what does this mean? Why am I sharing with you the definition of treason? The Trump administration, they are trying to make the argument that by manufacturing the fake Russian collusion narrative, Obama was, very ironically, actually doing the bidding of the Russians because the Russians wanted a Hillary Clinton victory, which means that he was, quote, adhering to the enemy. Does this make sense? Are you guys following here? Adhering to the enemy per the U.S. Constitution, meaning, what does that mean? That means that Obama has committed treason. What he did, this coup that he orchestrated was, whether or not he knew it, maybe not, I don't know, he effectively committed treason because he was doing the bidding of the Russians. This is what the Trump administration is angling for right now, meaning he's committed treason. And by the way, treason supersedes any type of presidential immunity. Okay, so we were talking about presidential immunity earlier. Treason is not a part of that. Yes, Barack Obama does have presidential immunity for everything that falls in accordance with his job as the president, but this is different. This is a treasonous act, or at least that's what they're trying to push right now. They're trying to get all their ducks in the row to make a compelling argument, and we're trying to understand that right now, that Obama, by doing this, was adhering to the enemy. He was effectively doing the Russians' bidding, which is funny because that's what he was accusing Trump of doing. But anyway, now, beyond proving that, or beyond making the effective argument that Obama committed treason, he would need one of two things to happen. Okay? He would need either Obama to confess to this in open court, as it says here, or he would need the testimony of two witnesses in order to really nail Obama down on this treason charge. He needs either two witnesses to testify, or he needs a confession from Obama. Now, is Obama ever going to plead guilty or confess to committing treason? Of course not. However, keep in mind that the Trump administration right now is not only pursuing Barack Obama, they are also pursuing FBI Director James Comey, former FBI Director James Comey, former CIA Director John Brennan, and former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper. We've been talking about them today as well. None of these guys have any type of immunity. So all of these guys, these three guys, James Comey, John Brennan, James Clapper, these guys are sweating bullets. They are losing their mind. Maybe Barack Obama thinks that he's safe right now. Maybe he does. I'm not sure. But these three guys, Comey, Clapper, Brennan, they're sweating bullets. They're freaking out. They're losing their mind because they don't have any type of immunity that Barack Obama might think that he has. And on top of that, there might be numerous other lower ranking intelligence advisors that they're trying to get to testify also. All it's going to take is two people to say, hey, listen, yep, I was working in the Brennan CIA or the Comey FBI. I knew what they were doing. Maybe I was even a co-conspirator. I helped them pull it off. I helped them manufacture this entire fake Russia collusion narrative. But I want to testify against Barack Obama. He committed treason. He was the ringleader. He was the orchestrator of all of this. All it's going to take is two of those guys, okay, to come forward and testify against Barack Obama, and then he's done, pretty much, right? In accordance with how this definition of treason is handled in the Constitution. And so, after saying that, you need to remember Tulsi Gabbard has said over the last couple days that numerous whistleblowers have actually come forward and they're ready to talk. They're talking about this. They're giving her information. They're helping her piece all of this together. People that maybe knew what was going on. And why? Well, maybe now they have some type of change of heart or some patriotic, obligation. They feel like they've got to shine a light on this. But also, a lot of these guys probably are looking for a plea deal. They're saying, hey, listen, if I help you, if I testify against Barack Obama, if I testify against Clapper, Brennan, or Comey, can I get a reduced sentence, or can I get a presidential pardon? I don't want any part in this. I want to be innocent. Okay, so you're having people that are coming out, they're acting in their own best interests, trying to save their own skin, whistleblowing now after 9 years. And so, like I said, this is the argument I'm making. There's a reason why everybody is hearing the T word: treason, 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 treason. Everybody's been kind of blackpilling or dooming. They've been saying, oh man, we're never going to hold Barack Obama accountable. He was the ringleader and he's going to get away. The point of today's broadcast is not so fast. I would not make that leap or jump to that conclusion yet, because there is a very, very clear reason why the Trump administration, why Tulsi Gabbard, why Trump himself, they're all hounding on this word: treason, treason, treason. They must seem to think that they have a strong case with which to nail Barack Obama down to the ground for committing treason. And also keep in mind, maybe this doesn't mean a whole lot to you guys, but earlier today, Donald Trump posted this on Truth Social. President Trump posted iconic O.J. Simpson photo, but with him and J.D. Vance chasing down Barack Obama. So here, this is J.D. Vance, one of the memes. This is Trump, and this is Barack Obama. Trump posted this like 4 hours ago. Obviously this is a stupid little meme, but of course you don't want to look too deeply into this, but keep in mind, listen, given all the other information we know, this whole treason narrative, this angle that they're pushing, Trump is also posting this meme indicating that they are still pursuing Obama. It really makes you think, right? If Trump thought that Obama had immunity and he was going to get off scot-free and this is over and that's the end of it, it's over. Why would he be posting this? Why would they still be hammering this treason narrative? So anyway, that's the big takeaway of today's broadcast. Today, the big point of today's broadcast is I don't think this is over for Obama. I most certainly do not think this is over for Clapper or for Brennan or for Comey or maybe other lower ranking members in the Obama era Intelligence Committee community. And I think we got to keep waiting because I think things are happening behind the scenes. And by the way, that is exactly, back to Dan Bongino, that is exactly what Dan Bongino said. There's more going on behind the scenes. We got to wait. They're plugging away on this. So folks, that really is the big takeaway of today's broadcast. I want to say thank you all very much for tuning in today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's show. This was a nice, short and sweet, to the point, break it all down. And then I'll come back tomorrow. So thank you guys very, very much. I appreciate it. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel. Please make sure to like today's broadcast. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Everybody, the super chats. Thank you very much for the super chats today. I appreciate it. Thank you guys very much. We have the #1 community in the world, and it's not because of me. It's because of you. So thank you very much. I appreciate it, guys. On one more final note, if you guys could do me a favor and follow me on Twitter. I'm right there on Twitter. That's the best place to get updates. So thank you guys very much. I really appreciate it. The support goes a long way. It warms my heart and makes my day when you guys are dropping in and being so kind. So thank you guys very much. And everybody have a great Saturday night. Have a good Sunday morning. I'll probably be back tomorrow afternoon. We'll do another show and I'll have another video for you guys. So take care, everybody. And